I feel scared because women, and especially young women in modern culture, are used to it. They are so much used to it that they don't notice it anymore. They don't see it anymore. They don't feel something about it. They don't say something. They don't feel something. They may even not think something about it. They don't recognize it. They grow up in a world where they think it's normal. That's what makes me afraid. That my daughter told me that she was that a man in the train like touched her, and she was afraid to say something. She was afraid to go to the police. There was a policeman standing. She was afraid to go to him and say, this is not okay, because she was afraid that the policeman would say, this is nothing. That can happen. Nothing really happened. And so she did not say something.
I also had an experience on the train where a man was touching my arm and my face, and like before the women's lab on the train, and I had nothing. Like my body just froze, and I said nothing. It's like this smile, and then when he'd done, I just got up and walked away.
What was your? Why did you not say something? What was blocking you?
Don't cause a scene. Don't draw attention to myself. Don't make it bigger than it is. Like, handle it. I can take this. It's not a big deal.
And I feel sad. I feel sad when I hear you sharing. Especially when you share, Millicent, that this happened to you not so long ago, and that you froze. And I feel scared about being powerless about it, or when I'm holding space for women to take back their fear and their anger and somehow gain resources to navigate this kind of situation, that I feel powerless. And something that I also want to talk with you about in this space is how does the shift from being powerless into unfreezing and moving from frozenness, from something else that I don't know really what is it yet. In
the Women of the Earth Lab, we had this session of self-defense, and it was so simple. I'm sad because you say you don't know what I heard is what is an appropriate reaction to that when somebody touches you without an invitation. And in the self-defense, Vera just said the only appropriate reaction is really smash in the face, really smash him in the face. And that's what we did. We trained that really to go over that edge, over that resistance to touch and to hurt maybe someone, and really to push the hand in the face of someone. My unfreezing started with anger. So when the memory came back about my sexual abuse, I thought, the memory is back now, and this is over. It's over. It's such a long time ago when that happened. I was 2 years old. It's such a long time. There's nothing else to do. This is over. And then I met Clinton then, and then Clinton invited me to go into a standing rage about that. And while I was in that standing rage, in that really high percentage of rage, that was like the beginning of my healing journey and the beginning of my unfreeze and the beginning of that noticing this is not over, and there is a lot to say, and there's a lot to heal, and there's a lot to feel about it. And what had to unfreeze in my case, what really had to unfreeze was this law not to speak, this law that my uncle and my family gave me: you may not speak about that, what happened. And that was really, really what I had to unfreeze. And what I did was then I had a journey of about 3 years of healing. And what I did I was writing. I wrote that up. I wrote my whole life up. I wrote my whole life up, everything that happened, and I'm still doing that. I'm still not ready, not finished. And by writing that up, that was also like an ice melting process, because because I went through it all again. I think the biggest thing is that I could not trust men. I did not trust men for a long time in my life. And I had something like a detector for the dangerousness of men, for how I detected my whole life how dangerous men, this special man is for me. And I had this as a child, and I later also as a woman, as a grown-up woman, I also had that I could detect very fast if this man is dangerous. And it's working really like a bullshit detector here in my chest. So it has like little antennas, and it gives like an alarm in my nervous system when something is not okay. Do you know something? Do you know what I'm speaking about?
Yes. In myself, it works mainly with contraction. I shrink my nervous system, do like as something that I'm terrified, but I shrink. And I never saw as antennas, but it's really like I withdraw. And I had this experience with not just with men, but also with women in my experience about sexual energy. So I became very sensitive to when there's some kind of sexual energy happening in the space, and this contraction happens in my body, in my physical body, when I feel it, when I sense it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you.
I feel sad hearing both of you speak, because my biggest thing is one of the things in me is like I don't trust myself. I don't trust myself. Like I don't trust my judgment, and it's something to do with having this sensitivity also to sexual energy and to unspoken agreements in some way. My system really sensitive to that. And then at the same time, this message of like I'm being crazy, or I'm being too pedantic, or I'm being unreasonable. And then it creates this confusion, like this white noise in my system of like something's off, and yeah, and then this is where the freeze happens in me.
For a long time, my heart was like closed for men, and I didn't notice it. I was in relationships. I was even married. I got 2 children, 2 daughters. And I did not notice, because I was so numb, that I did not notice that my heart was not open for relationship with men. So the whole time I played a game of which I thought, this is how it goes. I played the game that my mother also played. That game of being adaptive to a man, hoping that he doesn't leave, doing everything what he likes, and what you said, Millicent, I'm not sure, because I said I did not trust men, and you said you do not trust yourself. And I think that's also what I do. I also did, I would say did, I don't know if I still have that, but I also did not trust myself. And it was more like I did not trust myself, and I didn't even listen to what I really wanted. I thought what the man wants is that what I want in relationships. And I really worked a lot with that whole stuff. I think many things have changed. And I had some processes where I really could open my heart again. And it was like there was a big wall falling, and my heart, that was like a stone, got soft and got opened. And now I noticed that not so much with men. First of all, I notice it in the relationship with other women, that I really can let the love that other women bring to me, I can, that lands in me. I really can, I believe that. I believe that when a woman says, I love you, I believe that. I can believe that. I could not. But it was really work. It was many EHPs, emotional healing processes that I did. I did a lot of healing, especially with my mother and with the whole field of the female in my family, the women of my family, not only my mother. And also with my father's side. And this was a way really of 5 years, 4 or 5 years, that healing. And I don't know if it's finished. I don't know if it ever will be finished. And I don't want to say I'm still not healed or I'm still sick or so. That's not what I want to say, but I want to say that this to say I'm healed is maybe I'm not so interested in using these words. I think it's not so important for me to say that I'm healed.
What are some of the things that became possible through this work?
It was like the way itself made itself possible. For example, one thing is that in one day I decided to write that book about my life, and I could only make this decision to write the book because I was on that part of the way. So I had to go some steps before I could say, okay, I want to write that up. And with that decision, there came the next steps. So it was like every step was making it possible to do the next step.
What was the first step?
The first step was telling. Yeah, it all began in a rage club with Clinton and Anne-Chloe in 2018. And I was a complete newbie. I didn't hear something about feelings. I didn't know what sadness is. I I thought it's not okay to have anger. And I was sitting there and everything was stupid in this Rage Club. We did such strange things with saying yes and no. And I thought, what a shit is that here? I want to go home. That doesn't work for me. Yeah, I really did not feel good there. And then in the evening, there was a sharing space. And the evening of the first day, it was a 2 days workshop. And it was offline. So we really were there in Ravensburg. And we were sitting there with about 12 people. And my memory of the sexual abuse had just come back about 4 weeks before the Rage Club. That was 4 weeks before everything with PM. It was a complete other situation, and this memory came back to me after 50 years. And in this Rage Club, I decided in the sharing space, I decided to share that, to tell that this memory came back. I don't know why, I just wanted to share that with those people there. And I sat there and I was telling that. I said that the memory came back, a memory came back after 50 years, a memory about my uncle sexually abused me when I was 2 years old. And then I suddenly started to cry. And I had never felt something about that. This whole 4 weeks, I did not feel something about that. And then after I told that, I started to cry and I could not stop crying anymore. And that was the beginning of this healing journey. Sadness was the beginning. And on the next day, we did the standing rage. That's what I told you before.
Yeah.
Yeah, so first sadness and then rage. Yeah.
I remember you telling me something about how the memory came back to you, and I think it's kind of significant. Will you say something about that?
Yeah, it was. I have to say that I was when I was 20-30, I knew. No, I want to start even earlier. When I was 2 years old and that happened, I forgot that at once. So it happened and I forgot it. And then when I was 20-30, I thought, I noticed, I knew something is wrong with me. There must have been something happened with my sexuality as a child, but I did not know, I had no memory. So I did some therapies with 3 different therapists. And the third one, a woman, she said to me in the end, okay, you don't have a memory. We worked really hard and I'm convinced something must have happened in your life when you was a child, but you don't have a memory. It will come someday. Just trust, it will come someday. And I was 30 then. And when I was 50, it was a massage that I was getting, but it was a massage by a woman, and it was not a body massage. It was a massage of the energetic body. I didn't know what she would do. It was like an experiment. I wanted to try that to find out what it is. And I was lying on this bench, and then she came in and she had like a fragrance, like a herb oil, and she did that and then suddenly I had this memory came back. She did not even start, and then this memory came back, and it was so clear. It was so clear that I knew the house where this had happened. I knew how old I was. I knew I even knew what day it was. It was a Sunday, this memory. I knew the weather outside. It was a beautiful sunshine Sunday afternoon. I knew who else was in the house. I knew the room. It was the house of my grandma. I knew the room where it happened. And I even remembered myself laying on the table and looking out of the window. And it was so clear. This memory was so clear, as if I had seen a film yesterday. And I never doubted that memory because it was so clear. Yeah, and that's how this memory came back. And then afterwards, there were some more memories coming slowly. There was something here and something there, but this main memory came back on that massage bench. And I had this memory, and I thought, okay, well, that's what I was waiting for. This memory, that's what I was waiting for. And okay, now I have it. Okay, It was like information, like somebody would say the dog had pooped in the garden. It was not important. It was okay, now it is there. Yeah.
What I heard is that from the memory you got, what shifted was when you started feeling beyond the memory, when you could really feel in your heart what had happened.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, really the way that it came through the feelings, through the sadness and then a lot of anger, sadness and anger. Yeah. I think it is not possible to heal. I don't know how other women do that. In modern culture, how is it possible to heal from sexual abuse without feeling? How do they do that? I really want to know. Do they do that just by talking about that? How does that work? Do you know?
Well, Ricardo, the information of my sadness is that they don't. It gets numbed. They deal with it.
Yeah. I think it's not possible to get. Go ahead.
Yes, I heard from there's 2 women that I'm working with, and they were doing therapy before, and what they shared is that besides speaking, one of them that did Gestalt therapy, and it was about feeling but thinking. So it's a kind of affirmation of cleaning what happened. A kind of what she shared is that she was trying to build patterns in the nervous system to change their relationship with what happened. And the beginning of the work with her was mainly to updating the software about feeling, because she was so resistant to feel what happened, because the thinking about the feeling bypassed or somehow numbed the experience of what happened. So this is the frame that I have. I don't think there's really places in modern culture to women to heal from that, and in a way that really opens up the possibility to shift really something in reality. And this is also the impulse of having this conversation, or unfolding what else is possible in healing, and taking a step forward in the territory of sexual abuse or abuse in general, for women.
Yeah, and I have the experience, because what you say, you work with a change of the thoughtware about feelings. That is so important, because women, and I worked with women. I had a woman in an EHP, and she discovered in that EHP, she discovered that she was sexually abused. There was something coming up, and she did the same what I did. She did not really feel, at first she did not really feel that. She was speaking about that. There were some feelings, but it was not appropriate. And what is really appropriate is really 100% anger is appropriate. It's really to go to 100%, because this is so big. What happens in a woman when that happens? It is so big, and so the feeling must be so big. And women really have to learn to trust themselves, and that they can feel that it's okay to feel that.
To feel 100% rage about that.
Yes, and I'm not sure if it works when I'm thinking a lot what I could offer for women. I want to offer spaces for women that were sexually abused. And I'm not sure if it is really, sometimes it might work to start with anger, but sometimes they cannot go there. And it really it lands in me when you say they first need to change their thoughtware about feelings. And what is your experience with that, Gabriela? How do you do that, or how do you do that?
There was a lot of shame and guilty when this came up in a coaching session. for one of them. And it was similar for me also. It was in my first expanded box when my first EHP, that it came the memory. And there was a lot of shame and guilty of this had happened. And then, so in parallel with the upgrading the software about feelings, so really going slowly in this learning to feel, like learning to separate the feeling and to feel the rage separate from the fear and from the sadness, and making the sounds and really use the physical body. It's a lot about, one experiment I did with her in one session was to tell the story slow and looking at me, because usually she was like really wanting to hide. And this experiment really helped to be seen with what she was speaking, and then it unlocked the sadness. So it was the first feeling that she could feel consciously. And we are mainly working now with the sadness. So after that, now it's 2 sessions, and it's mainly about feeling the sadness that this happened. And yes, I'm discovering how, like, I don't know what is the next thing in the next session. I don't know what will be the next piece. One thing that in my own path that was very healing also was to talk with my aunt. So it was the partner, the man that sexual abused me was her partner back then. And I always had this doubt, and I'm inventing this memory. So I heard that your memory was so clear, Ricardo, that you did not have any doubt. In my case, I had a lot of doubts, and I'm inventing that in this emotional healing process. Did it really happen? Because I had a pink color of my childhood, like everything was perfect. And to have this conversation with my aunt and tell her what happened, it brought so much rage when I discovered that she knew that this had happened.
Wow.
And it was a really stepstoning for me to, in these 2 years working on that and myself and being able to speak in reality, and was like a deep heavy weight from my back that get dropped out. And I think also to have the as a space holder to say that this is not normal, it was very important. Like that, what you're speaking in the beginning about, so much of this became normal that it was really relevant for me, and also it worked for this woman when I said, like, this, what happened was sexual abuse, and to really name it and to use the conscious anger to bring the gravity into the space of what this really means. It somehow creates a safety or a clear space to go deeper and to feel what the feelings that exist, that are there locked.
Since going through the women's lab and having the chance, like after this thing had happened on the train with the man where I had no capacity to do anything, and going through a lot of anger, like a lot of rage in the women's lab, like including the self-defense and including setting boundaries and standing rage, I've noticed that my anger is it as I'm walking in the streets, I noticed, like, I had an example the other evening where I walked under a bridge and there was a couple of drunk men standing there, and that anger in my body, it literally like flared up hot, like there was just this heat in my body, just like boom. And there was just like, you don't fuck with me. Like it was just so clear in me. It was no drama. It was just like, this is what it is. And I feel so much joy about this. It's like I have access to this energy to just flow through me, and I didn't even need to say anything or change anything. I just keep going. Yeah, I'm so glad this is possible. And again, yeah, like rage work. This is so key to unlocking that. There's one more thing that I'm sitting on, which is the piece again around women being this intergenerational sexual abuse trauma that accumulates through women as being woman as being on the threshold of evolution. It's like a woman, it is up to women to decide how it goes, like evolutionary. Like it's up to women to choose partners, whether to have children, like all of this, like biologically, it's with women, really. And the question like becomes so big then is if all of this, the culture at large really fucks with women's sexuality, and also the accumulated like trauma from passed down through mothers of not having the reference point, like what you were speaking about, your compass, Ricarda, is like, yeah, I feel scared about that. I think my sense is that's really devastating. If women don't have the sensitivity for their internal compass of when things are off, and then the fallout is huge.
What's coming up from the oven?
So what I'm doing right now is I am in this skill up EHP skill up training, which was about being trained to hold spaces for EHPs and other spaces. And there were a lot of women, by incidents maybe, no, not by incidents, but there were a lot of women coming to me that had experience with sexual abuse. And I think I am already something like a vacuum for them. So they are coming, they are still coming. And maybe they heard about me, maybe they heard that something like that happened to me and they come, but it may also be that I am this vacuum for them. Because they just, sometimes it comes during the process that it comes. And I'm writing that book, and what I really want to offer, and I still don't know how, is spaces where women can break that law of silence. Because when there is sexual abuse, there is always a law of silence for the child or for the women, for the young women, to not speak about it. They are forbidden to speak about it, mostly without words. That goes without words. And it's such a big law. And I want to make spaces for women where they break that law, where they speak about it, where they can speak out what happened to them. I think it really starts with speaking about it. And that's what I think my game world will be about that. Speaking what cannot be said and what cannot be spoken about. And I want to co-create. That's new, because earlier I always thought I have to do that alone, and I don't want to do that alone. I want to co-create with you, Millicent, and with you, Gabriella. I want to co-create with women who say, I want that women have a new thoughtware about their feelings, and they need a new thoughtware about what sexual abuse is and how they can defend themselves. And I'm also very turned on about that self-defense. I would like to learn that, and I would like to learn that and to give that further to other women so that they can defend themselves in the trains, in the streets.
Yeah, me too.
That would really turn me on. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I want to name, like, it's happening already, Ricarda. The collaboration's already happening. We're here.
Yes.
Talking.
Cool. Yeah, let's meet and talk about what we could do or what we are doing.
Cool.
Yes, I will keep the group alive and open. I mean, I'll not close it. And I propose we keep rolling the energy that we co-created in this conversation into the next space.
Yeah. Yes. Cool. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you both.